Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Real Point of View here on Google Plus and the YouTube channel. My name is Greg Morgan. I'm your host for this evening. And accompanying me on this journey, on this ride, on this roller coaster is none other than Mr. Larry Domkowski of the Must See Movies on Facebook. How you doing, Larry?
Oh, I'm doing great, Greg. Yourself?
I am doing okay. Trying to, stay out of trouble. Not working real good, but you can't blame the guy for trying.
Well, that's life. If you're never in trouble, then I mean, you're going to lack excitement. You're going to lack, certain things in this life that you can only get through nefarious means.
Right, right. Quit telling our secrets, Larry.
I'm not telling anything.
Well, it's good to see you, brother. Looking forward to getting centered here. Okay, here we go. So we've got a cool subject this time. Now, this is the subject that you brought up in a conversation that we were having about movies that we try to get people to see. So what made you think about that? And can you expound just a little bit for our viewers?
Well, I think that for people who really love movies and watch a lot of movies, there are hidden gems all over the place, but nobody seems to be interested. They're not Star Wars, they're not Avatar, they're not Titanic, they're not big budget or big Hollywood blockbusters. And
Mhm.
so to find something that's subtle and unique and actually add something to filmdom uh, is and you want to share that experience is sometimes a very difficult thing. And let me open this up by just giving my first example of this.
Okay.
All right, way back when it was a different millennium even, and there was this little film called The Stuntman, starring Peter O'Toole.
All right.
You may have seen the movie. I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have.
And I tried to get my friends to see this movie, and let me tell you, not only did they not want to see this movie, but it was um, like real difficult. And so it wasn't until the movie came out in uh, what is it? The On video
Oh,
that
okay.
that that people started seeing this movie. Now the weird thing is, can you see a picture of the Stuntman poster?
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, great. Problem was, just a couple weeks beforehand, Burt Reynolds came out with this terrible film called called Hooper, about
Right,
a stuntman, and the
right.
movie sucked. It was bad. It was one of those. It was one of those Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jan Michael Vincent, um, and big boys acting like like junior high kids.
Uh-huh.
And the movie was terrible. It was a flop. Well, nobody wanted to see another stuntman movie. Well, the stuntman starred uh, Barbara Hershey, Steve Railsback, and of course Peter O'Toole. And this movie is brilliant. Not only is it brilliant because of great acting and a great script,
Mhm.
but it's a commentary on the movie industry. The whole thing is a commentary about for a movie to work, we have to lie. We have to tell lies. And that's why in this picture, you see a picture of Peter O'Toole as the devil.
Ah,
Because
so he's okay.
what is the truth and what is reality? And the difference between fact and truth can be very different. So, When this movie came out when this movie came out in a on video. I mean, I think it first came out on beta. That's how long ago this was. And finally, I was able to get people to watch this movie, and they loved it. They thought, why didn't they see this in the theater? Well, it was only in the theaters for like a week or two, and then they sent it packing. Here's where it really becomes interesting. It was the first movie to do better in the video rental market than it did on the big screen.
Wow, that is interesting.
So that makes this movie important. Important because it's not just a really good film, but it also gives I'll try to fix that. I don't know how. Can you see me now?
No.
All right.
Just having a little technical difficulty here, Larry.
All righty.
There you go.
Yay! But what it does do is it gives a picture of the business people in film of seeing what the future is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
That it's possible to be very successful on the home video market and not necessarily on the big screen.
Right. Right. Oh, very much so. And I think that's a lot of films out there that become gems for us, viewers of videos and DVDs and streaming and all that, because of that ability to see them more readily. You know, when movies are in a theater, you've got to kind of pick and choose where you're going to go because of the monetary implementation that's going on.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be try to be more discerning as to what you're going to see. And that's where you miss a lot of good stuff.
And remember, before Jaws, films rarely had, a mass release. They may release in a theater or two in each market or the coasts, and then they work them. Then they go to Chicago and St. Louis, maybe Dallas, and then they work back out to the coast. But that was before Jaws. When Jaws came out, they said, look, if it's risk we're worried about. When I'm talking about risk, I'm not talking about risk like walking on the edge of a cliff. I'm talking about the risk of how your money is being spent and what type of return you're expecting on that, right. And protecting a maximum return on your money, getting back at least what you spend and hopefully more. Spielberg showed that no matter what happens, the first time a theater shows a film, they sell so many tickets. And it doesn't matter if it's a great film or a terrible film.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is, great or terrible, try to make all of your money back in the first weekend.
Right.
And so he figured out how many theaters he had to open up Jaws in, do the appropriate marketing in those theaters, and then when it opened, Lord, what happened? His huge gross came on in, and he was able to pay off his debts for that film, not all of them, but most of them right away. This is
mm-hmm.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge. So now you extend that now, 4 or 5 years later to this film, to The Stuntman, and you say now you take it a step further. Now, if it doesn't do that well in the movie theaters, we can also do that in the home video market and recoup everything back so that we can pay all of our debts.
Right, and the real cool thing about putting something out in such a way is that when you're in the quote unquote video store and you're looking at the jacket for the film and you're reading about it, because the front of the film gets your interest because it's such a strange, odd looking demon, we'll say, on the front. And then you look at the back and you start reading it. So now it perks your interest. Now it's going to have, as you alluded to, a new life,
That's right.
more ability to be seen by the masses. But the problem comes in when you and I and people like us are seeing these great films for whatever reason, whatever perked our interest in the film, and we're trying to share this information with people. It's like, hey, this is a really good film. You got to see this movie, and then you try to explain, the reason why, and so your friends, who are pretty nice, I guess, for the most part, are trying to humor you a little bit, and they're going, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll try to take a look at that." And they might have heard that you said movie, go look. And that's all they got out of it.
Or it might be this person never sees Kevin Costner's films. And you think, now, wait a second here. This is a good movie. And I'm saying it from the other point of view, because when it comes to Kevin Costner films, I don't like them usually.
I know. I say, so this is a selfie, right?
Yeah, you gotta see this. You gotta say, no, that's Kevin Costner, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly, somebody, I'm with a friend, and we decide we're gonna hang out. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, and we're gonna hang out. And he says, Lair, I've got tonight. It's on me. Okay, no problem. Will my wife be upset about this? No, don't worry about it. And we go, and he takes me we go see a Kevin Costner film. And I'm like going, you son of a, how dare you? And it was a brilliant little film. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I loved Costner in it.
And what movie was that?
Oh, it was a very recent one. It was McFarlane USA.
Ah.
So okay. So that now my image of, because my friend being insistent, my image of Costner is changing. So I'm getting caught up in my Costner films and looking at that and going, okay, he's done some good things now. All right. And because somebody else was persistent, my horizons have been opened.
Well, I could have told you there's a few Kevin Costner films out there, Larry, that are pretty interesting. And one more recent that I admire, and actually it was going to be one of my films I was going to mention. So since you brought up Kevin Costner, why don't I go ahead and mention the film and bring it up so everybody can take a look. The name of the film is Open Range. It stars Kevin Costner. It stars Robert Duvall and Annette Bening. This is one of the best recent Westerns that's out there. And it's a little known film because it didn't get a lot of press, didn't get a lot of publicity, but it is worth the watch. On a scale from 1 to 10, for me, this is an 8.5 by far. And it was made kind of like the old Westerns of yesteryear, the more gritty Westerns, kind of like along the lines of the John Wayne Westerns and the Clint Eastwood Westerns. This is that Western that has taken a hold of the new marketplace. If they could continue to put out Westerns like this movie, I'd be a fan. And lo and behold, Larry.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner's in it.
No.
Yes.
I've seen this movie and I like it, but for me, who makes the movie, or what makes the movie is the acting jobs of Duvall and Annette Bening. Even though Kevin Costner does do a good job, I have no complaints at all with him. It's a good movie, and it's one that I think we should strongly press forward. People would like this.
Yeah, I totally recommend this film, especially if you like Westerns. This is that movie. It's really hard. Modern day Westerns really kind of don't have that rich, girthy, gutsy kind of thing going. And so you want to find a movie that's going to give you that. And this is that movie. And I love Robert Duvall. I always have. He's a fine actor. And I'm not a big fan of Annette Bening, but she does a good job in this film. And I like Kevin Costner. I'm kind of like 65, 70% Kevin Costner guy, but I'm 100% Robert Duvall. So this movie was good for everybody that we mentioned. So what are some other cool movies out there that you try to get people, i.e., like me, to see, and for whatever reason, people aren't listening to us or paying attention? Or
Well, one of the things that one of the big roadblocks that I get is I like watching foreign movies.
uh-huh.
And there's so many people out there who won't watch a foreign movie because if it's dubbed, it looks stupid, and if it's not in a language that they understand, they won't bother.
Right.
So it's like they'll never see a foreign movie. So it's like, come on, get it to your heads. Film is a visual medium,
Right.
and if it works, if a good film works well, you should be able to turn off the sound and be able to follow the whole thing. That silent pictures are exactly what they are. You should be able to follow the story just based upon the pictures that you see in the order it's presented.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find a foreign film that just knocks your socks off, you want to share that, especially the people who love movies. One really good example is Cinema Paradiso.
Very good film.
Wonderful film. It won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. And let me what year was that? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I remember crying. So I'll admit it, ladies and gentlemen. If it's an emotional film, you can tear up. It's okay. It's not unmanly to
1988. 1988.
Yeah, it was a good film. I shed a tear because I was so involved in the film itself, and it was a good storyline. Yeah.
So what this story's about? There's this little kid in a small, very conservative Catholic town in the middle of Italy, and he loved movies more than anything. He'd sneak into the theaters, and eventually he befriends the, the projectionist, and 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 so the projectionist lets him sneak in to see these films, and and so he's seeing one film after another. But while this is going on, every film has to be reviewed by the town officials, which includes the local priest. And so any time there was anything on that big screen that the church might question, like kissing or a little look, that he would ring a bell, and that section the projectionist had to cut out of that film. Well, lo and behold, big fire. Remember, back then, most film was very volatile, and a big fire, and it blinded the projectionist. So who becomes the town projectionist? This little boy. And so he starts showing these films and doing things so that people outside who can't get into the theater, like taking a mirror to a part of the or a piece of glass and tilting a little bit so that the movie is projected outside. And he does all these things for his village. Well, he goes on to become a great film producer and film director. And he gets a notice in the mail that his projectionist friend dies. And so most of the film is him remembering his life with this man and his true love, which, well, you'll have to watch the movie to find out what happens with that. This film won the Academy Award for the Academy Awards that took place in 1989 for Best Foreign Language Film. It is a phenomenal film. And Greg, you're an example of a person that I said, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. Eventually, you watched it. And what did you think?
On a scale from 1 to 10, this is an 8, a solid 8. And there was, because of the emotion between and the relationship between the projectionist and the child, and even as a young man, it's a very sentimental, heartfelt film. And I'm not a huge foreign language film person, so I'm one of those people a little hard-headed to get to watch, but I'm not a person that's gonna, wait too long. I'm gonna eventually see it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that film. Now I want to mention a film that a lot of people are aware of, especially if you like martial arts and film. That actually, when I first saw it, it would be considered a foreign language film. I was in a library. I'll be very brief. I was in the library looking, because the library that I go to has a lot of films, DVDs to rent, and so so I was in there and I was looking around and I saw this film and it looked like someone was doing Tai Chi on the front, and so I picked up the cover and noticed that it said Ip Man. In English, but I noticed that along the sides of the front cover and also on the back, everything was in Chinese. And so I'm looking to see if the movie, and here's a funny thing about dubbing, Larry. I looked to see if the movie was dubbed in English. It was dubbed. It was in Mandarin and it was dubbed in Cantonese. And then it was also dubbed in Korean. And then it said it had subtitles, and the subtitles were in Korean. There was no English, but this was in my local library. Now, normally people would put this down and say, well, I can't do anything with this. I was intrigued. So I took it home, and it's just like you said, Larry, turn off the sound or not truly pay attention to the words being said in a language that you don't understand. But I understood this film. It was done well enough that I understood everything that was going on. I wasn't by any means aback by what the cinematic essence of this film. So later on, I found the film dubbed. And you know what? It was I was about 85% right on what was going on. It was great. And so, yeah, foreign films, it's some wonderful cinematography out there. There's some wonderful storylines. If you read something and it looks like it might be decent, you should watch it. So yeah, I agree with that, Larry. It worked out. At least it panned out for me in that film anyway.
There was another film that I pushed real hard friends to see 1,000 years ago again. And this movie stars Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner.
Oh, romance.
Yep, you got it.
Can I say?
Yes, go ahead.
Romancing the Stones.
That's right.
That is a good movie.
And
actually, the series is pretty decent as a series of films.
1984, and I just want you to know something too, is that this movie is still being played in theaters.
Wow.
It's playing in Wheaton, Illinois tonight.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, so many of these little films. Now, Romancing the Stones was a blockbuster when it came out, but none of my friends wanted to see it. They all thought, they remember things like Ator and stuff like that. They want nothing to do with this movie. And yet, they finally capitulated. They came in, they saw it, they loved it, and they said, well, Larry, when it comes to picking up movies, you're pretty good. Yes, I am. This movie is great. It stars Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, and the makers of this film really understood pacing. They used pacing very well from the next to the next to the next to the next, and in between each time, it was very careful. Do they let you take a breath or do they not? And so you really get caught up with this. And try this. Try this. In a movie, next time you go to the theaters, not at home, but you go to the theaters. It's becoming more and more rare, I know, but try, please. And watch the people around you watch the movie. Mm-hmm. Are they sitting back in their chair? Are they leaning forward? That's huge. That's huge. If they're leaning back in their chairs like this, and they're looking at something, and they're like, oh, whatever, who cares? All right. Did I leave the oven on at home? Ah, gosh, I don't know. Or they're leaning forward. Now, this is not most people, but many people, and you'll see it, people leaning forward and leaning forward. What's also interesting, if you go see a scary movie, it's not that are they leaning back, are they pressing into the back of their chair?
Right.
You know, and you can see this, and do this especially if you've seen the movie or before, and start watching the audience and their reactions, and you'll actually be able to see what the filmmakers are intending to happen, and is it being successful or not, just by the physical actions of the audience. Romancing the Stone was one of those films that the people were leaning forward into this film, and almost like they wanted to step into the film with the characters. I know Woody Allen has a film that makes a big play on that. The Purple Rose of Cairo. I don't know if you've seen that one, but again, brilliant. That's another film that I had to coax people to go and see because the film is so brilliant. I'm not a big Woody Allen fan, but he's got these half a dozen films that are cute. They're quaint. But they're so much better than what the audience is allowed for him. They're so used to some of the other films they did and expecting like an Annie Hall again,
right.
or Hannah and Her Sisters, or earlier, how to, what is it? Everything You Want to Know About Sex But Afraid to Ask, or Sleeper. But there's a bunch of films that he did in the 80s and 90s that are simply brilliant. And again, it's pushing and prodding these people to say, go see it, go see it, go see it. And every single time I've gotten somebody to see these movies, they've always been thrilled about them.
And that's the cool thing about trying to share your experience with other people, is when they come around and finally understand that, it's not one film that you've talked about, it's two films you talked about, and they've kind of liked the films that you talked about. And so now they're paying a little bit more attention. Now, for the longest time, I've been trying to get people to see certain films. And part of the reason that they're not, the part of the excuses that I get are too busy, or, I'll get to it. Not interested, truly not interested in that type of film. You've got people out there who have a genre that they kind of stick to, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it's good and interesting to bring other things into your mix, so that you get a more rounded look at a lot of things. And you'd be surprised how films from other genres can kind of merge in or bleed into another genre, and you'd be surprised how much you really didn't like those films.
Yeah.
Now, I have a film that I try to get a lot of people to see, and I was gonna wait on this one, but I think I'm gonna bring it to the forefront. This is a movie about butter. The name of the movie is Butter. Now, the essence of this movie deals with butter. Okay. Now, this is not a documentary. This is actually a quirky, kind of a fun film. Kind of, I don't know. It's quirky is probably the best way to describe this film. It's an entertaining film about a young girl who is trying to deal with the fact that she's in foster care. And the thing that gets her to open up and be more a part of society, believe it or not, is a Iowa State Fair butter competition where people are carving wonderful works of art into butter. So this is a pretty crazy, wild film. It's got some really good actors and actresses in the film, and people of note. Yet this is one of those films that is under the radar. You've got Hugh Jackman's in this film. You've got Jennifer Garner is in this film, and it's a crazy film about carving butter. And there's one of the little pictures of the young girl who's in foster care. And notice the statuettes that are listing when she's trying to learn how to carve a little better in film. Now, this was her sadistic moments where she's got someone beating up someone, and she has a guillotine, and it cuts off the head with butter. But anyway, get the gist. This movie is hilarious. It goes through a lot of crazy scenarios, lots of fun narration by Jennifer Garner, by the young girl whose name escapes me right now. I apologize. But it is a worthwhile film to watch, and I try to get people to watch this film. And I remember talking to my niece one day, and I say, there's this film out there called Butter. You've got to see this. And she's like, Butter, why does that sound familiar? And she was looking at her brother. Now, my nieces and nephews are adults. So she's looking at her brother. She goes, Andre, did you tell me something about some butter movie? He goes, yeah, I was trying to get you to watch that movie for like a month. See, even he was trying to get her to watch the movie. And I said, well, you've got to see this movie. And he's talking to me. And between the two of us, we sounded so enthusiastic about the film that she's like, okay already, I'll watch the film. So even your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles are trying to get you to watch these cool movies, and you're just not paying attention. You're just not listening. So it took my nephew over a month trying to tell her, and me a few days trying to tell her about this film. And it is worth the watch.
Now I got to say something. And I was one of those people who kept on putting it off. I finally saw it, and you're right. It's a fun movie, and I like it. It's one of those movies that it may not be rated like 10 out of 10 stars or anything like that. But if you rate movies, basically not if it's a good movie or not, but did it make you feel better? Did it make you happy for a little while? Then maybe the movie did exactly what it was meant to do.
And I think that's what this is. This is a gem because it's a feel-good movie. Mm-hmm. It's just a feel-good movie. And sure, it's so quirky that it's funny. Mm-hmm. And it's so warm that you can relate to it. And so this is the kind of movie that you want to watch if you've had especially if you've had a tough week, stressful days. This is one of those movies that you sit back and you actually truly relax watching this film.
Yeah. Now, here's another quirky little film that I just loved. It came out in 1987, and it stars Jack Palance.
Is he riding a horse?
No. He's not riding a horse in this film.
Is he boxing?
No. He's not boxing or riding a horse.
That's two movies I know you like, Larry. What's this?
I know. This is something different. This one came in 1987, and the movie is called Baghdad Cafe.
Oh, I've never seen that.
and I was coaxed against my will to see this movie until they said, "Well, Jack Palance is in it." Well, I love Jack Palance movies, so
So do
I'm expecting some real hardcore kill death.
Yeah, somebody's gonna get beat up,
You know,
stabbed, shot.
at least there were going to be people dying, right? And I'm thinking, but Jack Palance in Baghdad, like in Iraq, Baghdad,
Like John Wayne in China as a Mongol.
Oh, So anyway, Jack Palance plays this retired guy who's decided that he's going to spend the rest of his life painting. In this little out of the way cafe in the middle of the American Southwest desert, and there's nothing around for miles and miles and miles. There's a woman who runs the cafe, and this German couple stops by. Turns out that the man, his plan was to abandon his wife there forever. And so she has to get by. And there's this marvelous ensemble work with the owner of the cafe and her son and Jack Palance, and then this German woman who becomes the waitress for this cafe, this diner in the middle of nowhere. And it's just magic. The whole thing breathes magic, and not magic like The Hobbit or Gandalf the Wizard, but this magic of a romance doesn't have to be a sex movie. A romance can be something as simple as enjoying the dawn. It's a romance because it's all about love of ourselves and love of the people around us, and it's a brilliant little film, and it's one that, especially if you're a Jack Palance fan and you see him in something that he normally wouldn't do, and he just makes it work. Mind you, one of the reasons why it works the way it does is that the audience is expecting a normal Jack Palance type role.
Sure. I expected that very similarly in the movie he did with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And yet it wasn't. That wasn't. It was it was a funny Jack Palance, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So City Slickers.
City Slickers, right?
Yeah. And so, I haven't seen that yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and see Baghdad Cafe, Larry. You don't have to beat me on the head, man. I'll go see it.
And so now, after I was coaxed into seeing that, and I did, and I'm glad I did. So then I started to share the wealth. Share the wealth. This is a movie worth seeing. It's a movie worth doing. And this is about the time in this show tonight, that I would like to add something here.
Okay.
How do you do it? How do you convince somebody who absolutely refuses to see a sci-fi film because it's science fiction to go see that movie? Because at the end of the day, they're going to love what they saw.
Well, one of the ways is just the example that I had with my niece. Get somebody who's already seen the film. That helps you persuade another person to see a film. Be on them night and day. I
have been kidnapped. You will watch this film. You are my son.
Right. That's a good question.
Or my dad. My dad had a way of doing it. What he would do is he would buy the DVD, or before then, the VHS.
Right.
And he'd hand it to me. And then after a while, he goes, "Larry, let me see that film that I got you." and I'd hand it back to him, and he'd pop it in. You are watching this movie. You know, some things that I've worked. I usually do the broken record technique of repetition, boom, boom, and they're probably thinking we got to get this guy to shut up. So
Right.
we'll go see it. Now I gotta be very honest here. There are some movies that I've convinced people to see that they hate me for.
Ooh.
You see, I'm also, if I see just an average or below average or terrible film, but if it has one tiny element that's brilliant, I'll tell people to go see that movie for that brilliant spot. And so we're watching a film, oh gosh, let's say like My Chauffeur.
I think I saw that.
The Deborah Foreman, the girl who played Valley Girl in the movie Valley Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, she had a movie a year or so later called My Chauffeur, where she plays a chauffeur.
I did see that movie. That was
And
in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Not a great film, but it's enjoyable. And there's a bit in there with Penn and Teller, and where Penn Jillette plays a con artist, and Teller plays a sheik from some place in Saudi Arabia or somewhere in the Middle East who cannot speak English. And since he doesn't speak, he's perfect for the role.
Right.
And the interplay between those two and then Deborah Foreman makes the whole thing worthwhile. Oh, Sam Jones is in it as well. And that's also, he's never was really a great actor. But there's a moment in there where with Sam Jones and the woman who plays his secretary, it's wonderful. It's a brilliant little moment. The filmmakers caught something and put it on camera, and the woman who did that did a great job. 8 seconds, maybe 9 seconds. And so you take those little pieces and they say people have to see this movie, especially actors who do something wonderful, and you want those actors to see what they did. And unfortunately, it's like, yeah, well, it's a Larry movie. What's a Larry movie? Well, it's a movie that you like, but nobody else does. It's like, okay, but at least you saw it.
And that's what makes it tough, especially trying to convince somebody to watch a movie where the magic only lasts like magic does. It's fleeting. That does make it a lot harder to convince people to watch again after seeing something like that, where the majority of the film is not the deal. It's the special moments, and that makes it a little more difficult, bro.
There was one film out there. It was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, I remember that. Kind of that mix between people and animation.
Right. And Bob Hoskins is in it, and it's a real fun movie.
It is.
And there were so many people who refused to go see that movie because of that mixed media thing, and people just they weren't ready for it. A lot of people saw it and loved it. I had friends who just, and so I actually did one of those kidnap moves. I was with somebody. I said, "Tonight's on me, buddy," and he said, "Hey, that's cool." And he was with his girlfriend, and she said, "Well, Larry, we can pay for ourselves." And I said, "No, tonight's mine. I've got it." Well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go see a movie. They stopped and they looked at me, and they said, "No, we're not gonna go see that film." And I said, "You're right. We're not gonna go see that film. We're gonna see this one." And oh my God, you see the looks of their eyes. It's like, you can't make us see this film. I said, yes, I rarely pay for things. Tonight I'm paying for it. You're going to go see this. And they did, and they loved it. And then watching them tell their friends, Larry was right. This is a good film. It was fun.
And that's the thing. The reward. When people actually watch the film that you took them not dragging their feet and kicking and screaming to go see, and the reward is they actually like it. It's like that commercial with Mikey. I'm not going to eat it. You eat it. No, I'm not going to eat it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah, he'll eat it. He'll eat anything. You know, it's that gratification. You see them enjoy the film, and so now you feel better about it.
Yeah. Or you feel butter about it, but that's a different.
Definitely feel butter about it. I'm telling you, you're going to feel butter about it. And I have another quirky movie, and this is stars an actress who is really an A-list actress, especially since the movie. And actually two A-list actresses in this one, and they play sisters. The name of the movie is Sunshine Cleaners. And it stars, it stars Amy Adams and Emily Blunt. And this is a very cool, kind of a different kind of movie. We basically have these two sisters. If I can get this over here. Whoa. There we go. Amy Adams with the reddish hair and Emily Blunt with the dark hair. We have two sisters that come into this situation. Amy Adams' character is works in an agency kind of like Molly Maids. Yeah. And she's trying to do all this stuff to try to get her daughter through school and pay for her daughter to go to this private school. So she comes upon a person who she knew when she was younger, and she's actually cleaning this woman's house who's rich. So it makes her feel like, you know, she's a failure, this, that, and the other. She comes upon a situation, excuse me, when she's going to get cleaning supplies. And not to give too much away from the film, but she comes across a different kind of cleaning that is going to quadruple the money that she makes. And that's crime scene cleaning. So she tries to convince her sister to do this with her. And so the movie basically is her journey through trying to do these different cleanups when you don't really know what you're doing. And it's a really fun film. And I try to get people to watch this film, and they're like, Sunshine Cleaners. The title itself does not give you any impetus to go and watch this film.
Yeah. No, how I got to see this film was the person telling me about it told me that Alan Arkin was in it.
Right. Alan Arkin's the dad.
That's right. And I love watching Alan Arkin in movies. Now, for those of you who don't know who Alan Arkin is, he's been around since the late 50s, early 60s. And he's been in some brilliant little films. He was more of a comic type actor in the beginnings of it, like The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. Fun movie, stars Alan Arkin. He got a resurgence when the film version of Glengarry Glen Ross came out.
Right.
And then he's been in a lot of films since then.
Yeah, I mean, he has a role in Argo with John
Goodman.
Yeah, and it's a really good role.
Yeah, and so they said, well, Alan Arkin is in it, so okay, I'll see it. And that's another way to encourage people. Mention something about the film that they would like.
Right, like the actor.
It has this actor in it, this actress in it. It's a Western. It's, you know, they sing songs. They don't sing songs. You know, anything to convince somebody that this is going to be worth their time.
Yeah, indeed. Now, as our time is fleeting, I want to throw some movies out there that might be really interesting for you to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Here are Larry and I trying to get you to watch these films. Yes.
Yes.
This is our attempt.
We
with
must
our
watch
finger.
these movies.
You must watch these movies and see how we're doing our finger. You got to watch these movies. This is a really fun movie, and and like the old people say, it's a hoot.
That's a real hoot.
It's a real hoot.
So what would that movie be?
This movie, I'm trying to see what the date of this film is. Film came out recently. This is a film that came out in 2014. And the name of the film is Chef. And it stars Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson. I mean, there's a lot of people in this movie. Bobby Cannavale, Dustin Hoffman's in this movie. I mean, Oliver Platt. I mean, Sofia Varga. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And it's about this guy who is a chef at a major restaurant and how his life is filled with all these crazy things that are going on with his family, with his mistress, with all this crazy stuff. And it's his coming of age movie for him and his relationship with his son that makes him do something a little different. I'm not going to spoil the film for you, but it is so worth the watch. It's a pleasant film. My sister got me to watch this film, and I was thinking, okay, Chef, I like food movies. Larry, you know that I like food movies. Anyone who's listened to our radio show in the past knows that we like food movies. Well, this is another food. Yeah, this is another food movie that is worth your while, and it's another feel-good movie. And it's big about relationships and how someone who is starving for a relationship realizes that the relationships that he's starving for has been around him all along. So it's a great film. So that's one of my big ones. And my last one that I want to mention, I've got to bring martial arts back into the situation all the time. This is an older movie. This movie came out in, trying to think. This movie came out in like 1989. And this movie is starring one of my favorite martial arts, Philip Rhee, and it also stars Eric Roberts, who's Julia Roberts' brother, and the name of the movie is Best of the Best. This is a little-known movie. It was written by Philip Rhee. He and his brothers are true martial artists in Hapkido. And this first film, because there's a series of films, this is actually the best of the best, literally, of the movies. But it's a little-known film, but it is a really decent film to watch. And especially if you like decent acting, not great acting, but decent. But if you like good martial arts, this is a good movie to watch. This movie and the sequel, the second movie.
Well, I've got two films as well. The first one came out in 1990, I believe. And, no, 1999. Sorry. And it's very highly rated. And it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Chris Cooper, Laura Dern, Chris Owen, and it's called October Sky.
Oh, that is such a good movie.
And let me tell you, this one, I hadn't even heard about it. Me, who loves things like this, I did not know that this movie even existed. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, want to watch October Sky?" "Sure, I got it here on DVD. I'll play it for you." I had no idea what it was about. I loved it. It is a 100% feel-good movie that there's no real bad guy, but there's an intense situation going on. It's a movie about self-discovery. It's a movie about persistence. It's a movie about striving for your own goals and making it work. October
Right.
Sky is about this kid whose life gets turned upside down, just like everyone else did, that the first night Sputnik flew overhead. And the world changed from this from this huge place to this tiny place one evening. And how is this kid, how is he affected by it? Well, he wants to build rockets too. He wants to do that. He wants to change the world. Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing little
it is.
film.
It is a very good film.
The other movie that I have here, I saw this in the theater when it first came out, and it is a foreign film. Surprise, surprise!
What, Larry? It's a foreign film from
Yeah,
you?
that's
Oh, come
right.
on.
1994, and it's directed by Ang Lee.
Okay, I know Ang Lee. He's a good
That's
director.
that's right. But this is not your normal Ang Lee film. You see, this is a romance film, and it's called Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
Oh, this is such a good movie. Now, I'm the result of you trying to get me to watch this movie, and you tried to get me to watch this movie more than once.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, this sounds good, and I just didn't think about it. And you said, hey, Greg, have you seen that movie, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman? I was like, what? Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. I told you about this film. I'm like, okay, Larry, I'll watch it.
It was a Larry movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was. And then I came back to you like, Larry, oh my God, the first 5 minutes of this film, I was full.
Yeah.
Some of the most wonderful food I've ever seen. I wanted to stop the guy from fixing the food and tell him, dude, tell me how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just that whole movie, your mouth is watering the whole movie.
And yet, at the same time, this film, even though just like Water for Chocolate or Chocolat, or many other food porn movies, it's really not about the food.
No,
No, but
it's about
it is about sustenance
definitely sustenance.
and what keeps us going, what keeps us alive, what keeps us vital. And this movie does such a
And
great job in doing this. You have a great chef who is known throughout China and known throughout the world, who has lost his sense of taste. And now the film begins.
the journey in this movie is a wonderful journey. It is a journey of discovery. It's a journey of oneness, devotion, sentiment. I mean, there's so many adjectives that describe this film. This is one of the best films I've ever seen. And at the same time, there's also really good food in it. But it is a great film, a great movie. And there's another movie that with I cannot think of his first name. Alessandro Hector. Is it Hector Alessandro?
What movie are you talking about?
It's actually the same movie, only they did it in English with a Spanish family, a Latin family.
Okay.
But I can't think. Um,
I'll have to see it. I haven't seen it.
oh, I can't think of who else is in the film though. One of the girls, one of the young ladies who plays his daughter in the film actually passed away recently. But Hector, isn't it Hector Alessandro? Hector.
Elizondo, the guy who played the chauffeur in The Princess Diaries.
Yes,
Yeah.
Alessandro. Yeah. Okay, I'll have it for you momentarily. I'm looking right at him. Liked him in Pretty Woman too. He's pretty good in that. So one moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost out of here, but I wanted to mention this movie. Is eluding me. It's Tortilla Soup.
Tortilla Soup. When did it come out?
2001.
Okay. I will have to look into it.
Very, very similar. And he has daughters also.
Well, what's interesting is in Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, part of the story is inspired by the Shakespeare play King Lear, where King Lear has no heirs. He's got daughters. He's got no king to be an heir. And he estranged his daughters. And so does this in this film, the maestro, the great chef, just his daughters just have nothing to do with him, and yet the one daughter who does, he just treats her she's just a girl,
right?
And it's a real magic relationship they end up having, and what's interesting is, like, when we first started talking about this, we talked about sustenance. What's providing him his sustenance? What has it always been? And brilliant film. It was nominated, although it did not win an Academy Award in '95.
Now, in the following year, in '96, just throwing out this last movie, and then I promise we're out of here. This goes toward that food ideology. You didn't mention this, and this is a movie that you got me to see, and it was hard to get people to see. The Big Night.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about food. Oh, my gosh.
One of the great things about this film, first of all, if you're a Stanley Tucci fan, this is a wonderful little film. If you're a Mark Antony fan, this is a marvelous little film.
Even Tony Shalhoub.
If you're a Tony Shalhoub fan, this is a marvelous little film. Yeah. If you're a Minnie Driver fan, it's a marvelous film. If you're an Isabella Ronalesi, oh wait, I'm mentioning the entire cast.
Yes, because it is a huge cast of really good actors, and it's a really good film that nobody knows about.
It's an ensemble film, and we talked about this film a couple of times on the radio show on Blog Talk Radio. But you have Stanley Tucci, who is the front man of this restaurant, and his name is Secundo, and his older brother runs the kitchen, and that his name is Primo. Primo and Secundo, first and second.
Right.
And they're running this Italian, not an Italian-American restaurant. They're running this Italian restaurant, and they can't get anybody to come in there. Well, the guy across the street, who runs an Italian-American restaurant, wants the Tony Shalhoub, Primo, to come work for him. The only way that's going to happen is if he gets this restaurant to go bust. So he comes up with a plan, and he convinces them that they're going to get Louis Prima, the great Italian-American singer and performer, to come to his restaurant. And once he does, he will be there, and he'll love it. And then everybody in the whole East Coast will want to come to that restaurant, knowing full well what he does is he convinces the brothers that he's really coming, but he's not. So what happens is that they make a feast, a big night. They pulled out all the stops. And even if he came, they'd probably go broke because they just did everything. And again, this movie, although it's about food, it's about sustenance again.
Right.
What really keeps us going at the end of the day? That gets us to get back up and do it again.
Right.
And that's what.
Fall. Right.
And Stanley Tucci does a great job. He developed the script, he directed it, he produced it. Yeah, I gotta tip my hat off. I'm a big Stanley Tucci fan. I've been for many years. Um,
And even the small roles, Stanley Tucci is just a primo performer. I saw him recently in Spotlight, which is a film that just came out, nominated for an Academy Award, and his small role in there is poignant.
mhm. It is.
It's a good film. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've run out of time a little bit ago. Want to thank you for listening in and humoring us, us film critics, on our crazy uh, inability and ability to try to get people to watch films that we recommend them seeing. We hope that we've mentioned a few films that you'll be interested in seeing yourselves. We really want you to go out there and watch these films, you guys. Come
And
on, these are really
and
good.
we challenge you. Get us to see a movie that you want us to see.
Yeah, by all means, you can leave messages for me, comments and questions, but definitely suggestions for films for us to watch on my Twitter account at Real Movie Guy. And how about you, Larry?
I don't know what am I?
You can see, get movies.
Movies for you to see. Larry Domkowski at Movies for You to See on Twitter.
And you could also check us out at Real Point of View on Facebook, and leave us comments, questions, and suggestions on our Facebook account. Any last words, Larry, before we get out of here?
You know, we keep on telling you to go see movies, and that's right. But tonight, we're telling you, go grab somebody, kidnap them, and take them to a movie.
Even if that movie's in your house.
That's right. Well, maybe kidnap may be a strong word, but hey, a good time shared is a better time.
Indeed. All right. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us here on a Real Point of View on the YouTube channel and Google Plus. We appreciate you. And again, get out and see some movies. And like Larry said, kidnap a friend. Take care, everybody. Ciao.